was watching, and I didn't see the fact that he actually got injured, but when I saw the doctor pop his knee back. Oh my god, that looked.
He'd pop it like it's hot.
Popped it like it was painful.
Yeah, it looked freaking horrendous. Like you can see the kneecap just pop back in place.
That's what I said. Pop it like it's hot.
No, David. No.
So we're only doing one episode, right?
Yeah. See ya.
Well, we're already recording now.
Yeah,
so.
we're recording now.
Welcome to Nailed It. I'm Nate.
You're all over the place today, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I introduce myself yet?
Well, I mean, we already introduced ourselves at the very beginning of this.
I just want everybody to know that's listening that I'm Nate.
They know your name because you talk very, very softly.
Very seldomly.
And you carry a small stick.
What?
Isn't that, well, this is the whole saying is, talk softly but carry a big stick. And he talks
What
softly.
the hell is he talking
and
about?
carries like a small stick. It's a pen.
I still don't know.
Stop. Okay. So,
And I'm me.
yeah. So, I'm just going to... As a young child, did you watch Power Rangers?
No, I wasn't allowed to.
Really?
It's too violent
Did we
for me.
talk about this already?
I think so.
Okay.
My mom was like super against guns and violence and stuff.
Look how you turned out.
Well, there's me, and then there's my Marine brother who
I
was
was gonna
allowed to watch Power Rangers and
I was gonna
play
say,
Halo
you're-
at
so-
a very young age. And
What?
I give her crap for it all the time because
Were you just a fragile child or something?
I was treated as such. Yeah.
That explains a lot.
No.
Is your
My-
brother older?
No, my brother's younger.
How's your mom?
Oh, he's younger.
Let him speak. Damn it.
So, Power Rangers was a big no-no. I would sneak out on Sunday mornings to watch a couple episodes before they woke up because I love the show. You know, you're a
The
kid.
Power
You
Rangers?
love the things you're not allowed to do, right? They're more fun.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, people do that as adults too, but
Yeah. So, no, I never really watched Power Rangers. I know what it is and what the concept is, but
Okay.
I don't.
so I've been a big fan of Power Rangers. Not to the point that I could, only because of after a certain point in time, the acting, realizing it was real bad in my brain, clicked, and I stopped watching it for like a long time.
Real bad.
Real bad. Like it's okay. I guess sort of side note. So there was a season called Power Ranger Samurai, right? And the acting is horrendous, and it's specifically because of this one character. So they have the general color lineup, and they switch it up every so often. Color lineup: red, blue, and green, or red, blue, and yellow or pink are generally the main three colors that always stay the same, and then all the other colors are sometimes different. They'll change the Green Ranger for a Black Ranger and things of that notion. There's a Blue Ranger in that season specifically where the actor, nothing against him, maybe it was the direction the director told him to go to, that is overacting so hard that it physically gets me angry. Like, it's how to put it? You watch a movie, right, and the character is just so extra for no reason.
Right.
And I'm like, why are you doing this?
No, I get it. Like, I had a friend, she used to do drama. And I used to do, like, improv stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hard drugs.
Hard drugs. And
Hard
improv.
drugs.
Improving hard drugs. I used to do improv, and whenever she would do her scene, she would overact, because you're supposed to overact,
right?
In when you do dramas and stuff like that. But it'd be so much, I'd be like wanting to roll my eyes.
Yeah.
And she thinks she's doing this amazing job, and I'm just like, nobody buys into it. It's not funny and it's not fun. You're just overacting.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating where you're just like, what am I gonna do with that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's like
I'm not gonna let, because in improv you're supposed to, one, you say yes to everything, and two, you have to try to match their intensity.
right.
And I'm like, I'm not going to overact.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, this was after, like, this specific season was me later like after I realize, oh, this is actually still going, I'll see what motifs they use for each season. So I went back and I saw this character, and I'm over here trying not to table flip my entire room because it's like this one character just kills me.
Is the part where you feel like you could do a better job in that role, or is it that you're just like, why did they choose this person over 1,000 other people that were applying for the job?
Because there was a ton of people that applied.
Yeah, a good chunk of 22 to 25-year-olds that can pose as teenagers in high school, fighting evil all the time. No, like, so, I mean, it's nothing like that. It's just, I don't know, it's one of the specific things that catches my eye, and it bugs me to no end.
Well, that's what frustrates me when, like, if I see an actor, like if we talk about like the Star Wars, is it Hayden Christensen or whatever in the Star Wars ones, where he overacts almost everything you're in, and you're like,
everywhere.
One, out of all the people that applied for this job, you're the one that got it, and that's frustrating. And then two, I get upset at the director who's like, yeah, that's a good take, and I want to go with that one. And
to be fair, he couldn't see it past the piles of money that he was making.
Right. It's true. It is hard to push the pile over and go, oh, that's right.
Oh, that's terrible acting.
The rich excuse. No, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. So, Power Rangers is based off of something called like Tokusatsu in Japan. It's the Super Sentai Kamen Rider type deal. Every now and again, my head just shifts into child mode where I just want to watch all these Power Ranger transformations and intros. And one of my buddies, Chance from D&D with the Boys, he has seasons of certain shows called Kamen Rider, where it's kind of like, it's a show based for children, but it has a lot more adult situations in terms of like, oh, people can totally die in this universe and people's necks are getting snapped. But this is for children, you know? So I started watching one of the shows called Kamen Rider Double, and the premise is kind of interesting. It's more like a little detective show. But generally the powers of the Kamen Rider is person has belt, and belt has a certain motif to it. And then they say transform in Japanese, and then they transform into a spandex-clad superhero with armor, and they go fight the bad guy. This one, it takes two different characters, and they say they share the same consciousness in one body, and it's like watching them work together and fight. Super interesting. Not too far into it. I just wanted to talk about it because I enjoy the show.
It's like a smaller version of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
two people controlling the same.
Yeah, and they've played
all in spandex outfits.
Yeah, yes. and they've played on the ideas, at least early in the show, where like,
which version of Pacific Rim are you watching?
When one of the characters has like something going on with them specifically, and how it affects the transformation process, or like the synergy and stuff, where one character will have something said to him that reminds him, because like one's like an amnesiac kid, but he's super and when something gets mentioned about his family at one point, the entire like left half of the body just shuts down in the middle of a fight. It's like, okay, that's an interesting way to like take that and stuff. So I don't know, it's a good show so far.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's been ever put into one of those shows where somebody goes to do the transform thing, and then he's just like, oh man, it's just not working right now. You got to reset.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Hold on. You gotta
adjust the underoos.
Gotta reset the. It's like locked up, blue screen of death type thing.
Yeah,
file not found.
But yeah, no, it's like a lot. Like I said, a lot of the Kamen Rider shows or the Tokusatsu shows generally have a theme. Like one of the seasons called Gaim for Kamen Rider, it's all fruit.
Happens to Tony Stark a lot in the Avengers.
Oh, that's true.
Where he has like this new great thing, and then it just doesn't work
right.
out.
He's always just
like hitting it, or he's like sitting there like this with his arm out, and he's just waiting and waiting.
Yeah, he's like, it'll come.
So like, there's like one with fruit that ends up being more akin to like old Japanese warlords like Oda Nobunaga and stuff like that. The transformations, like the armor looks good for like BS if you like that stuff, but it's super fun. Like I said, it's a good show. I haven't finished it yet. I'll talk more about it once I finish it. CW Arrowverse for Crisis. They just released the first episodes, I think, of most of the shows. Batwoman and Supergirl are getting slammed for not getting enough viewers right now.
We're not getting enough viewers? What does that mean?
Well, so this was Batgirl or Batwoman's opening season for the show. I haven't watched it yet, but I know that
I didn't even realize it was out.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It just came out. So they entered in the last Crisis event, which was the Elseworlds event for the CW Arrowverse.
Who plays the Batwoman?
Ruby Rose.
That's right, she's hot. Anyways, yeah.
For the last crossover event, they brought in I think his name is the Beyonder. I have to check. One of the super overlords of the multiverse in the DC Comics comes through and essentially is like, "Yo, we're gonna try and find a way to stop this crisis that they've been like alluding to since the first season of Flash."
Right.
So at some point during this, Oliver Queen and Barry Allen switch bodies or switch lives. So Barry Allen is Oliver Queen in Arrow. So Grant Gustin's playing Oliver Queen, and Stephen Amell is playing Barry Allen in the Flash. So they switch suits, and like the Flash is like this buff white dude, and Arrow is this skinny dude with a bow. It's super fun. Do a whole multiverse event and stuff like that, and essentially at the end of it, I'm just gonna call him Beyonder. I'll get slammed for it by the community members later or whatever if they ever watch this, which I doubt they will. And they.
What is your faith?
In religion or life?
In your ability to be found on the internet.
Small.
Okay.
Keep expectations low, as you'll never be disappointed.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so they essentially by the end of it, this the Beyonder guy talks to Oliver and says, "Yo, I'm paraphrasing. Says, hey, if you want to save Supergirl and the Flash, you need to come with me at the end of this and try and stop this entire crisis event." And Oliver agrees to this, and it saves Barry and Kara from burning up in the atmosphere trying to Superman movie it by trying to turn the world backwards or stopping it in time and whatever. And then at the end of Arrow's last season, he came and took Oliver away. Now, this crisis has been building up for years, and they're going all out with its casting for this crisis event. Like, they're trying to turn it into Endgame.
Right.
Like, it's super scary. So, like, and I'm getting worried about it for the direction that it may be going into. Because, like I said, for one, Supergirl and Batwoman both had a negative slap on it already in the beginning of their seasons right now. I don't exactly know why. Haven't watched it. Maybe it's just viewers. Maybe it's just not a lot of people care about these characters. Like I said, I reviewed it before. Supergirl in the last season was really good, but it's only because they brought in Lex Luthor.
Right.
And John Cryer, as in Alan from 2.5 Men, played a really good Lex Luthor, and I wasn't prepared for it, but he played a really good Lex. And Batwoman, I'm excited to see. I just don't have the current time to do that, or a proper method without paying a lot of money out the pocket.
Do you think? Well, is that a streaming thing?
That's a streaming reason, yeah.
Okay.
Because like,
well then I don't. If you cut, are they? Is that show available to everybody to watch, or is it only on a streaming service?
It's available it's on CW Network, so it's on it's basic cable.
I was just wondering if it's just there's so much stuff out there to watch that
right, and I get that, but it's like it's available, so it's like people just decided not to do it, obviously, or they don't have cable. You know, I don't know if it's on their website or not, but it is what it is. But with that, they've talked about a whole bunch of different additions to this. They're bringing Kevin Conroy, as in the voice for Batman from Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond, as old Bruce Wayne. So it's like, okay, we're going somewhere. They're bringing Tom Wellington, who was Clark Kent in Smallville, back as Superman. they're bringing the Superman Returns, Brandon Routh, who played Superman in the Superman Returns with, I think, Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. And they're bringing him as Superman, but he also plays a character in
that was
in
a
Legends.
terrible movie.
And then they're bringing the cast of Titans, which is that online DC show, into it. They have a huge cast for this, and I am genuinely scared for them to mess it up because they're also bringing in. I mean, they've already done it before, but in the Flash TV show, they bring in the old 90s, 80s Flash as Barry's dad, but he's also dressed up in the old Flash suit in this Crisis event, so he's going to be in it too. And they're talking about bringing in Green Lanterns. They're talking about bringing in. The only thing they have not talked about is bringing in Batman. Apparently, something in this first episode of the new Arrow season, which is going to be the shortest season that they have since it's its final season, has something to do with Batman being dead. So I'm just afraid for how this Crisis event's going to go.
Yeah, because I heard they find like a Batman mask.
Yeah,
on his,
with an arrow in between in the eye hole.
What a shot!
So would that mean Arrow killed Batman?
It could be possible. It could be possible. Let's see. I'm just looking up the casting. Let's see. So they have Supergirl, they have Batwoman, they have Flash, Green Arrow, but there's also going to be multiple versions of. Are you guys okay? Stop staring at him.
Yeah.
You know when he has nothing to do with the topic, he doesn't talk about.
I had to remind myself he was here. I looked down at the camera. I was like, "Who's that?" And I looked up.
Okay.
It was Nate.
So there, multiple versions of Oliver Queen. You want to say something, Nate?
Nope.
Okay. They have Brandon Routh as Ray Palmer, the Atom, but also as the Superman from Superman Returns, but he's playing Kingdom Come Superman. That one is specifically like an all-out war between the older superhero generation and the youth, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be an interesting turn on why they're bringing this Superman specifically in to do this Crisis event. Guest, Harbinger, Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne, John Cryer as Lex Luthor, the old Lois Lane from Smallville.
Too bad Adam West isn't alive.
Adam Weist.
Adam West.
Yeah.
Pure
Well, they're
West.
bringing in Burt Ward. They're bringing in Burt Ward for this too, which is super weird.
You know what? Why not? Because
screw it.
It's just like it's like a one-time opportunity to do all this, and DC is in such a disarray, the movies wise, that you might as well just throw it on TV, especially since you've been building since the very first episode of Flash.
Right.
So it's a huge cast.
Okay. And so then they're also bringing.
So is this going to be its own series, or is this going to be like everything's coming together and it's going to be in a certain series?
So what's happening right now is that the way that it works out is that they have each superhero has their own show.
Right.
Black Lightning, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow. They're all their own separate shows, right?
Right.
Every season, they get everybody together and they do an event, and each event happens pertaining mostly to a character for each show. So Supergirl will be like part 1, Flash will be part 2, Arrow will be part 3, Black Lightning will be part 4, Batwoman will be part 5, Legends part 6 or whatever. So it'll all be in like one night, but it's like a 5-hour event. So you're watching this back to back to back to back. But it'll be like through multiple days throughout the week because scheduling and whatnot. And so that's kind of how they're doing it. So they're bringing in 6 shows into one universe.
I feel like that's too much for
But
most people.
they're taking all those shows and they're playing out this story piece by piece in each of these shows.
In a way, like each show will have their own season of story to go on about it. But with this happening, is like they know about everything that's coming up. They know that Flash is disappearing in a crisis. The is it the Monitor? Whoever this character is. Let's see. Hold on.
See, he's still there.
What?
It's weird.
Nate?
Oh, yeah, him.
I'm sure.
Jesus. But yeah, no.
No, Xavier's got to blur that out.
Whoops.
I didn't know you knew sign language, Nate.
Anyways,
Impressive.
I'm not blurring it out. That's your guys' fault. Because you brought it upon yourself. Anyways, so yeah, it's just they're setting it up so that Arrow's last season is going to be all about this crisis and leading up to it, because it's going to be a shorter season. And it's the final season for Arrow because it's been going on for years.
Long time.
Flash has its own thing going on, but they'll lead up episodes here and there to bring up the crisis event, and I think it might have something to do more with it. Supergirl, not so much, because the way Supergirl operates is that it's on a different Earth, which means it's a different universe, but she'll show up because she'll be involved somehow in terms of fighting in the crisis. And then Batwoman is in the same universe as Flash and Arrow, and that's probably how she's going to get shoot in, whereas Black Lightning is in another universe, but he'll be brought in. And the legends go throughout time, so they're in universe, but time travel is a weird thing there. But
It's a weird thing anyway.
right,
So are they expecting you to watch each season?
Yep.
To piece together this
Huge story.
this huge story. Okay.
yeah. So it's like
I feel like
it's like the Marvel movies, but more convoluted, because with the Marvel movies, it's like you have to watch Iron Man, this, that, and the third, and they drop little hints or little teasers at the end of the movies to explain, hey, this is going to be happening next movie.
Well, that's
Right.
also. So what was it? 32 movies over 12 years or 10 years?
Right.
But I mean, like, it's. You don't have to watch every single movie to understand exactly what's going on, because the event of Avengers, like the first one, is you could understand what's going on in that without watching Thor.
Right.
You can understand everything without watching Thor.
okay,
So they went to watching
Every
3
single-
hours to, if it, I mean, what, like an 8 episode season, 8 hours, just under 8 hours.
For like Arrow and stuff like that,
Well, if they're an hour episode,
they're not 8 episodes.
There's
How many
like
episodes?
22.
It's like it's a decently long season.
I mean, is it like a half an hour or is it?
It's an hour, but okay, but I'm not telling you. But here's the thing. So
Nate
David,
got,
you-
Nate
David,
got
you should do
stressed
that.
out just by
oh,
the time.
but
that-
he doesn't watch it anyway.
I know.
So I don't
No,
care.
I'm saying, but like,
You can see it on his
But
face.
you
though.
just use the example of
Well, that's why I just,
Avengers.
Avengers.
Right, but
that's
here-
a 3 hour. That's a 3.5 hour movie.
Right, but this is what it is. Are you dedicated to watching these Marvel movies? Does time mean anything if you are actively getting out of your chair, going to a movie theater, and sitting down to watch these movies?
It's different because you're going once a year, maybe twice a year, and watching one movie.
What?
There's-
To watch one movie? How many Marvel movies came out?
32.
32. How many in like within the same year?
At most, there's probably like 4 or 5.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, it depends on if you're dedicated to these characters. That's what it is. Because
right, but you don't have to see.
you don't have
I
to
mean, you
watch...
also don't have to see the entire Flash series. You could actually watch the first episode and skip ahead a lot. I know you'll miss a lot of the in between,
Right.
but a lot of times they fill in at the very beginning of the episode. This is
Yeah.
what happened on the previous season.
I mean, kind of, yeah. But it's like, it's just the dedication that you want.
But
If you only care about Flash and Arrow, go only watch Flash and Arrow. If you don't understand who Supergirl or Batgirl or Black Lightning or the Legends are, then don't care. It's not, you don't have to care. But if you're going in there, I want to see what the Crisis Man is like, and your ass gets confused because you didn't watch anything, that's not their fault. That's your fault because you decided to skip ahead.
right, but you don't even have to watch all the Marvel movies to know what's going on.
Right.
You just need to understand who the basic characters are.
Exactly.
Like when I went to go see the Avengers before, when I went, my girlfriend wanted to see. So Avengers came out, and then Endgame was about to come out, and she's like, "Well, what do I need to watch in order to catch up?" And I said, as long as you understand some of the basic characters, and we watch a couple of the movies that are kind of important, like the Age of Ultron, and like there's just a few in there that just kind of sprinkle in the main storyline,
Yeah.
then you're good.
Yeah.
Like Guardians and Ragnarok.
Well, I mean that's how that's what it is. Like if you watch, like, because I watch Endgame, right? Of course I watched the Infinity War, and then I was a little confused. I'm like, okay, so where was Ant-Man? Why did he just come out of nowhere? You don't know unless you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right.
Sure,
So
right.
but you don't have to watch the original Ant-Man
Right. No, you're right.
unless you want to know about that character. So you can watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you can understand what's going on with that character.
but I feel like if you're right. If you want to know the character,
you can skip around. You have the choice of, I just want to know what's going on or where these characters are at. You can do that.
right.
I feel like
it requires more time, but regardless, there are people who put in that time. Who think it's worth it. So that this is for them. It's not for people like me who don't invest the time.
But it's also the big complaint about the DC universe when it comes to movies is they don't take the time to
Exactly.
go through this.
That's them. That's DC saying, okay, people already know about these characters, so we're just doing this.
So would you rather them stop taking all these random people, the Jason Momoas and all this stuff, and just use the characters who are in these TV shows and do a movie out of it?
It depends on your feeling for the TV shows and the actors. Because, yeah, Flash, Arrow, and all that stuff, it gets repetitive. And
I find those characters are good, but they're on the borderline of kind of cheesy actors.
But that's what
they are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you shoot for in those series.
Well, because it also depends on, like I said, how you feel specifically. Because, like, in Season 1 and I think Season 2 of Arrow, Oliver Queen specifically was doing the Batman motif. And that's when it was, like, at its strongest, in my opinion.
Right.
When they brought in, because I think first season was Malcolm Merlyn, second season was Deathstroke and Slade, and that was like, it's popping off. Third season was like, all right, it's kind of all right, and then they come back and they bring another character that is trying to push Oliver to that past that he stopped doing when he started killing people. You know, it's like by this point he already put on the mask, he stopped killing people, he's sending them to jail, trying to work with the police, all that jazz. And they bring in this character's like, that's not who you are. You are the murderer. And they play on that motif, and it was a really good season. And then this last season was like, all right, it's kind of boring now. Oliver, because they split the timeline in two. They had the future timeline where it's like a lot of the entire, a certain section of the city is now the glorified when it used to be the slums, and everything outside of it is trash. And vigilantes are not allowed anymore. Oliver's already gone. Felicity is in jail, and it's like okay, so now we're trying to that part of the story was more interesting than the main story that I was watching, which is okay, we're gonna try and explain how Oliver leaves, but we're also bringing in a character that's gonna end up dying by the end of the season, so it doesn't even matter, and stuff like that. Versus like the Flash, where it's going along the timeline, and you're learning with Barry. It's like okay, cool, can't go back in time, otherwise I mess stuff up. Okay, my daughter came from the future, and then something happened, and she dies, and now she just doesn't even exist at all anymore. But then they're creating an alternate future.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, they create.
That's how your child was born, right?
You're saying she doesn't exist?
You have a child?
Yeah. So and then it's like it kind of turns out that this character that existed for that season isn't part of a reality that shouldn't happen, so she doesn't exist, and now it's like her entire character arc didn't even matter, and now we're going to be dealing with two more different characters from a possible future that may show up because that's canon. You know, it's just stuff that you've been a part of for a while, and you're with these characters and you love these characters and you're going through it. It's like the Marvel movies, just not as extended. Because yes, the Marvel movies come out fewer, but it's an experience where these people are telling a comic book story throughout the seasons.
Right.
You know, where it's like literally it's like, all right, boom, Iron Man. Hey, this is his origin story. Fights bad guy because all Iron Man villains is literally his suits being used against him
In a cave.
in a cave. That's what it is, right? Iron Man 1 is
I know, but that's all the superheroes. It's
They all
Flash,
start in a cave.
Flash versus
Evil Flash.
Evil
you're right.
Flash, Oliver versus Evil Oliver. I mean, at least he seems to have a little bit more diverse characters.
Who?
The Arrow.
His switches up.
But it's like
but they literally took everybody from Batman and threw them over here.
Yeah, I know.
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And like they took like a sprinkle from Teen Titans. It's like, okay, Arrow season 1 was him versus a dark version of himself.
Yeah.
Season 2 was, okay, this is what happened to Oliver on the island, and then we just threw Slade like a meteor in here, and now Deathstroke is here, and we have to deal with that situation.
Right.
Like I think I forget what the season after that was.
That was Raja Ghul.
Was Ra's al Ghul season 3?
Yeah, that's when I stopped watching.
Yeah, so
because I was like,
they bring in
they literally brought the episode from the animated series and just
carbon copied
it. Like literally, they didn't even do a fake like cover up type thing. We're just like,
even.
we're just gonna redo this episode because people liked it.
Yeah, so they bring in the League of Shadows or the League of Assassins, right? And they have Ra's al Ghul here, who is the demon's head of the demon, whatever. He wants Oliver, who is a detective crime fighter, to take over the League so he can dispense justice throughout the world. His daughter, Nyssa al Ghul, not Talia, Nyssa al Ghul, has to marry him. And it's like, okay, so where's Talia? Talia is not anywhere. Oh, but Talia shows up in the last season, and it turns out that Talia was the one that trained Oliver how to do his actual fighting after he was taught by some dude on an island who was part of the League of Shadows, taught by Slade, taught by Russians, taught by this other one. It's like Oliver Queen is Batman with Green Arrow mixed. Yeah. That's all he is. That's what his story is.
Apparently he stole his powers when he shot him with an arrow.
Yeah, apparently. So
all that's going on. I have a question. Because I did finally see the Joker movie. Anybody else see it besides me? Nate, did you?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Nope.
So, I want to talk about the Joker movie a little bit.
I'm excited for Elseworlds. I'm also scared for Elseworlds. I'll let you know when I catch up.
So, being part of the DC has that huge TV series that's going on, which I find very fascinating.
The Arrowverse.
The Arrowverse, all those different shows.
Yeah.
I would love to watch it, but I can't.
It's time.
It's so
time.
I I'm trying to go through like Breaking Bad right now, and just so I can watch the new movie that's out, and it's taking me forever to do.
Wait, what new movie?
El Camino.
El Camino.
No. Oh.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Just
is
came
that
out.
the one that keeps popping up?
Yeah.
They're related?
Yeah.
It is.
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
It's Jesse Pinkman's story after the show, right?
Yeah. So that's apparent. We haven't watched that yet because we want to get through
I
the
haven't
season.
seen Breaking Bad.
And then also we were trying to watch.
Started watching Blacklist. That's what I'm at.
Like we were watching Mindhunter too. That one's a really good show. Mindhunter is
not related to Joker.
No, it's not. Yeah, Mindhunter. I was just explaining.
It's like the serial killer.
It's a serial killer thing.
Okay.
It's very, very interesting. So
that is related to Joker.
So the Joker movie is completely. It is the most realistic superhero, non-superhero movie I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm trying to figure out how to describe it because it's.
Here's what we're gonna do. Do you care about the movie at all?
Mm-mm.
You've already seen it. I spoiled myself. Spoiler warning. I will put a time signature here so you can skip it. Yeah. For audio listeners, just stop listening for a hot minute.
Okay, so it's
hot minute.
It's the Joker story, and it goes through his life. As you know, it starts off at the beginning of the movie of him just keep getting beat up by life, and he's got mental issues, and he's always taking these pills and stuff like that, and he has this job, and so one of the people he gets beat up at the very beginning of the movie. One of the people that works with him is like, hey, I know you got beat up or whatever, and your sign got smashed over your face. Somebody stole the sign and got smashed over his face. And so the one guy gives him a gun and says, hey, here's this to protect yourself. And he's like, I'm not really supposed to have this because I have mental issues and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, here, take it anyways. And then he gets, later on, he gets a call from his boss. And his boss is like, so what happened to, what's his name's sign? And he's like, it got stolen from me and smashed over my head. And he's like, why would somebody steal your sign? And, and so he's just like, he wants his sign back, or you're fired, basically.
Important sign.
Mm-hmm. And then he kind of goes out, and then he goes and he's depressed, does a whole bunch of depressed stuff, and then and then he's trying to put on a happy face through the whole thing, because that's what his mom has always told him is put on a happy face. Through the progression, he gets fired from his job. The guy that gave him the gun kind of sold him out and like kind of screwed him over huge.
Well, he gets fired from the job because he now is carrying this gun around.
Yeah,
And
well,
he's doing this
that's
job.
what it was. He ends up going to a hospital and he's
little
dancing for
kids
kids and the
and
gun
yeah.
falls out.
Yeah, his gun falls out. So, and he's like, it's a prop gun. It's for jokes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Shh.
Ah.
He gets fired for that. The one guy that gave him the gun sells him out. And so he kind of just starts going on this spiral of downness. He tries to get into comedy because, you know, it's the old trope of comedians are the most depressed people in the world, and the way they get out of it is they kind of like tell you a joke, like
It's a defense mechanism.
it is a defense.
He has schizophrenia?
It's not schizophrenia.
No.
No, but he has a thing where he kind of so like he's watching TV and he sees the guy on TV played by Al Pacino. No, not Al Pacino. What is his name?
Oh yeah.
Starts with an R.
Robert De Niro.
There it is.
So he sees Robert De Niro, and he's doing his talk show host thing, and he has this imagination thing where he kind of thinks of himself going on the show, talking with him, and having he imagines he's in the audience, and then he gets pulled up on stage, and they have a conversation and stuff like that. So he has that kind of creative imagination thing. In the process of everything, he meets this girl.
Well, it makes it look like he meets this girl.
You're cutting ahead.
Oh, sorry.
So he meets this girl, and he's going through his torture thing, and she's like comforting him for all this stuff, and his mom ends up going to the hospital, and she's with them there, just to comfort him and all this other stuff. Later on, you find out none of that happened.
It was actually Batman.
Yeah, it was actually Batman the whole time. No, he was just imagining the whole thing the whole time. He was fight clubbing us, where you think there's two people there and there's not. And then also his mom, in the process of, she's been dying, and she also is crazy, and she tells him that she had a kid that his dad is
Bruce Wayne's father.
Bruce Wayne's father.
Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne.
So she tells him, and he goes, and he ends up seeing young Bruce.
Right. But the truth is she got pregnant. Well, no, she didn't even get pregnant. He was adopted, and she just made up this story in her head that Thomas Wayne is the father and stuff like that, because she adopted a kid, and then it was like, she just made up a story just so she could feel better about it.
So she had mental illness, and when he goes and finds out that he was in fact adopted, he also finds out that his mom and the boyfriend at the time he was basically chained up to
physically
this
and mentally
post and abused and just all this stuff. Basically, kind of where he probably started.
So essentially, by the point in the movie towards the end, or I'm assuming the middle climax, you find out that half the shit that's happening isn't really true. It's all up in his head. He's been physically and mentally abused. He has no proper place in the world. He was adopted, so technically his name isn't even Arthur. So he's a man with no family, no past, no loved ones, and he's kind of going downhill because he's treated like shit.
Right. And then so in the process of all that, he goes and does a stand-up comedy routine.
Wait, just before that though, like in towards kind of like the beginning when he's kind of starts to spiral. He has a gun. He's on this train, and he
It's
commits.
a bunch of businessmen.
What?
It's a bunch of businessmen, right?
Well, they're younger
True.
Wall Street guys or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're like making fun of him, and he ends up basically killing all three of these guys. And he's in his clown getup, so that's what the news is portraying the story as. Is this clown guy kills these three young guys, and now there's already a riot in Gotham.
Poor versus rich.
Now they're all like dressing up as clowns.
Yeah, so
kind of
it's a
portraying-
revolt. V for Vendetta style bullshit.
Yeah, it is the V and Vendetta stuff, and so in the process of that, yeah, he has a weird schizophrenia type thing.
It's an illness where he uncontrollably laughs.
Yeah, whenever he's nervous, he laughs. Like when he's stressed out.
The laugh is good.
Right. Whenever he gets stressed out and stuff like that, he can't stop himself. He has a little card that he hands to people, and he says, I can't stop laughing.
I have this condition.
I have an illness.
I couldn't read what it said, but you could see I have a condition, and then it's like a paragraph of what this condition is.
Right. So he goes on and tries to do stand-up, and he bombs huge. But
that was the part that I was saying was freaking cringy.
Right.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, so he tells these jokes, and in his head he's hearing laughter from the audience, but in reality it's like, this dude's crap. Later on in the hospital, when he's taking care of his mom, and him and his lover is there, he sees the Robert De Niro character on the TV, like showing a clip of the stand-up act, and he's like, this guy's terrible. Which at first it seemed like his Joaquin Phoenix's character was like really excited that he's on TV, but he realized that his idol is sitting there making fun of him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was like mixed with that, realizing that he doesn't have a career. His mom is not his mom. He was adopted. His lover is not his lover, and she doesn't even know who the hell he is.
Right, and then also he just killed
Three people,
and he's trying to make himself feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he doesn't.
Yeah. And it just completely breaks his psyche 100%.
So at that point, then he gets a call out of the blue from the producer of the show and says, "Hey, we're getting a lot of response from your clip that we played. Would you like to come on the show?" and stuff like that. And so he takes this opportunity. He's like, "Yeah, I would love to be on the show," and he's just tired of everything. And his whole plan is to go on the show and basically kill himself.
Yeah.
And at the very end, he snaps and turns it the other way because he doesn't really feel bad about killing people. He's like, he goes on the show and he says, they start talking to him and stuff like that, and he's just like, he just confesses that he killed 3 people. And then so he confesses that he killed 3 people, and then Robert De Niro is just like, what's going on here? And he's like, everything's a joke. My whole life has been a joke and stuff like that. And the worst part is I don't feel bad about killing those people. They were terrible people, and they're being mean to me, and basically, and he's like, and you've been mean to me. You're the only reason why I'm here is for a joke. And then he laughs and then shoots him right in the head, and then everybody panics, and then basically the movie's over at that point. There's a lot of things in between. Very good movie, really well done, very kind of cringeworthy and dark, and they tie in Bruce Wayne and everything so well that, and everything was so realistic. Like, you're like, this kind of could have happened this way. I want to know, is that the direction that DC should go?
No.
Because their chintzy, cheesy stuff has not been working.
Right.
So would it help the DC universe if they decided to go the different direction as of Marvel and go, we're going to go with a realistic version of this?
They tried that.
As of last weekend, it was still making $55 million.
That doesn't necessarily mean that's the way to go, though. They've tried that already, specifically with Nolan's Batman flicks. You know,
Right.
They went the
realistic way. Because,
the dark, demented kind of.
Right. I'm not saying that the Nolan movies are bad, because they're not. Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, or The Dark Knight specifically, are really good films.
Right. But those were the really good Batman films.
Right.
Those are the ones that people love.
You can't do that with every superhero in the DC universe.
I know, and that was my takeaway from it is like, okay, you can do that with that, and you can do it with Batman, but there gets a point where it's over the top because you introduce Wonder Woman and Aquaman and all these other characters are in this universe. How do you do that in a serious way?
It's really difficult because, like, even with Wonder Woman, with her, like, 2 origin stories, her not being technically human but being made from clay and blessed by the Greek gods, and then a dude so happens to trip into their island, and then they go back and do whatever. You know, the movie's been done. You can't really make a dark thing about that. Green Lantern's the same way. Dude finds alien dead in a ship, gets Green Lantern powers, and now he's a space cop.
Right. And see,
the most they can do is probably Martian Manhunter.
They could just not make that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the
It just
frustrating.
doesn't translate well to a movie. It really doesn't. Like
The Joker's specific.
the Joker is very like.
The frustrating thing
works
is
for
you
that.
kind of want more of that, but then you get to a point where you're like, they can't because of the unrealisticness of everything else.
Right.
Even if you just stick to the
The
Batman portion of
Rogues Gallery, it's super specific because almost every one of his villains is a tragic backstory, give or take, minus the Riddler.
Would it be interesting if they did a realistic story of each individual villain instead of doing the whole thing?
I don't think
No. My opinion on that is specifically because you got to think about how the way the Joker impacts people in the media, especially with The Dark Knight. The Joker is so specific a character that people want to see him because he's known. It's like Batman. If nobody's really going to give 2 craps about Two-Face that isn't already part of the DC community. It's a man with half his face messed up and he has multiple personalities.
Right, but they can care about him because you can tell a story of the mayor or whatever he was, the lead justice person, and how he's struggling with this thing, and then all of a sudden
but I feel like they did that with Dark Knight, and
they
if
didn't continue it.
But if they had expounded on that, it would have just become like it would have been filler. Like they hit the keynotes of that character.
And the thing is that when it comes to the Joker, a big issue that everybody has with the movie is the fact that they thought it was an origin story. It was going to be the definitive origin story for the Joker, and it turned out that that's not true.
Right.
Because the Joker does not have an identity. The Joker is different each iteration of the actor that played him, from anywhere from Cesar Romero all the way to Joaquin Phoenix. Each Joker has been played differently, even with Leto.
Right.
You cannot do that with any other DC villain. Selena Kyle's going to be a thief. Harvey Dent's going to be the twisted man with the dual personality. The Penguin's going to be a money-grubbing bastard. The Riddler's going to tell jokes. The Joker's so specific.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating because you're like, I would like to see more of this, but it is literally impossible to not get into the ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
I feel like more of it would just ruin what's already a good thing.
Exactly.
And that's the way I feel too. Is I walked away going, I want to see the rest of the story in reality.
Well, the sad part is, like Nate said, is it's still making money, and like you said, that's not important, but to them it is.
It will be, and
so they're going to come out. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They're going to come out with something like you said that follows this line, and it's not going to be the same. We've seen it how many times, countless times, where they come and try and they overdo it. Mm-hmm. They just go too far. They can't reproduce it. It happened. It was amazing. More of it makes it worse.
It's true.
With the new Batman, and I think they just announced the actor for Catwoman, but the actor the guy that plays
Robert
Twilight.
Pattinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's that story? Gonna
They're
be
not
like?
connected.
They're not connected at
They're
all.
not gonna- okay.
No, in fact,
Is it gonna be its own thing?
it is. They're basically rebooting.
Again.
Okay.
I mean, it's been a couple weeks, so they might as well reboot it.
Yeah, no. The Joker overall was, even from the beginning, told that this is just a tale of a man.
Right, it's just like Brightburn.
Yeah, it's just like Brightburn. Well, I don't know. Brightburn didn't really. Brightburn was the story of, okay, boy, it's a Superman alternate history story, essentially, is what it is. I don't know if you've seen it. Boy finds out that he has superpowers from a different Earth, and then he uses those powers, also being somewhat mind controlled from the alien race, and decides to legitimately try and take over the world. Where this version of the Joker, like, if you look, like, comparing the two styles, because I'm going to use Heath Ledger's Joker because it's the one that everybody knows the most, besides maybe Mark Hamill's, but that's completely different.
Right.
That's animated.
Right. Heath Ledger's Joker was seen as the psychopath at the time because of the action that he was doing, and then realizing that, no, we can totally make the Joker seem actually crazy, so they brought in Joaquin Phoenix. And then Joker's personality from Heath Ledger's perspective went, not Heath Ledger's perspective, but his title went from being the psychopath to the anarchist, the man who just wants to watch the world burn and all that jazz, versus Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, who is the sick, trouble-minded person who then just who creates chaos, but like on a smaller scale at the time. And of course, if it goes farther into the story, it can turn out to a giant scale event of where Gotham is all messed up. But what bothers me about that being able to be continued simply is because the way that the Joker is in his age in that movie versus the age of Bruce Wayne at the time.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah,
that
doesn't work.
That's what the frustrating thing to me is I saw the Joker at his age and I saw Bruce Wayne at his age, and I was like, by the time he becomes Batman, Joker's old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you know that the portrayal of Joker's not old?
What do you mean?
Like, what does the Joker do that he can't do if he was older?
The age difference is too far. The age difference is just way too far.
Why?
Because he looks like he's maybe like
So Batman comes into his realm around 30,
right,
and so he looks like he is 10 or 12.
exactly. So by the time he hits,
Well, how old is the Joker portrayed as in this new one?
He looks like he's in his 30s.
So he'd be 50. What's the problem?
Batman in his prime, he would be able to put the Joker down for good if he really wanted to.
They never really get into a fist fight where that the Joker actually bests him.
Yeah, where are you watching?
Well,
What are you
I mean,
reading?
just like they get into fights, but the Joker always has something up his sleeve. He never actually just full on 1v2s or 1v1s them with his fist, like
Yes,
in a
he
straight
does.
up fist fight.
Yes, he does. In the comic books, he does all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't read
But
DC.
then
I'm
again,
watching the movies.
Yeah,
but
well, no, and that's where the split happens, right? Because watching the Joker in the movies, like even with the Nolan verse of Batman movies, Batman and Joker are almost, I mean, they're opposites, obviously, but they could probably go toe to toe. The Joker's mindset as a character is that he is so unpredictable that him going up against Batman's trained martial skills is a match. Versus, like, in the comic books,
Right.
like,
Yeah,
he has so
you're the
many
professional fighter. I'm the button masher.
Exactly. It's like it's the difference. But then the Joker in the comic books, whenever there is a huge Joker event, he uses schemes to try and break the psyche of the character before obviously Batman wins or Batman dies. Like in one run, the Joker, the Joker comes back, and this is after people thought he was already dead. This is after he cut his own face off, and now it's grown back. There's a side story going on where, has the Joker been immortal this entire time? Everybody in this group of the psychiatric group are talking about different versions of the Joker in his story because nobody knows his origin story. You'll never know, and they're trying to tell, like, could the Joker have been the laughing man from the beginning? And then it turns out that the guy who's leading the group is the Joker, and he's just messing with all these people's minds. On top of that, during this fight with Batman, has this super drug that is found is like a weird mix of the Lazarus Pit with some other drug that's keeping him immortal. And him and Batman are throwing hands in an underground cave for like an hour before it blows up. And then at the end of that, somehow they're both back. It's like it's too far where we don't know where this Joker could go. Right now, the way that the Joker is shown is like, this is a man with a troubled past, not knowing who he is, who is broken, and he's going to show the world how broken everybody else can get. Now, if they really wanted to...
Right, and then in the movie, he also, like, he loses his job.
Right.
So he can't afford his meds anymore.
Right.
So the rest of the movie, like, when he starts seeing things and things start going bad, is when he's off his meds.
Yeah. So by time, like, if you really wanted to, if they wanted to go into the future, they could have some type of BS situation where Bruce Wayne is now into his own. He's now Batman by this point. They could have the Joker find some random Lazarus Pit, which the Lazarus Pit already makes you go crazy after a certain point, unless you're Ra's al Ghul and murder hungry and all this stuff. And they could do that, but then it's like, what was the point? Because now you've taken this realistic possibility of the Joker and just dashed it with supernatural chaos.
Right.
So, don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just the Joker I was basing it off of is the one that I know the most.
Heath Ledger's.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Exactly.
And you always see him like he's trying to break Batman by outthinking him.
Yeah.
He never really goes toe to toe with him. Like the only time they go face to face, the Joker's strung up by his legs.
Exactly.
Or Batman's knocked off of his whatever motorcycle thing, and laying on the ground. It's never really like a fist fight. And so if you wanted to say that there was that age difference there, and there could be the age difference, and you could still have a 50-year-old hold his own against a 30-year-old if you want to say the Joker's got that kind of training, like that ability to stand toe to toe with them. Like it doesn't have to be age that stops it.
Right. The way that Joaquin Phoenix's character is portrayed in the Joker, though, is that he looks deathly sick. He looks brittle.
But you also have 20 years where Batman's getting better. Why can't he be improving himself
broken.
as well?
Well, there's also versions.
But he's broken, but he's also accepting the fact of who he is at the end. He's kind of like coming into his own, right? Like the way I understood it is he kind of like goes, why am I so upset about all this? Like my whole life's a joke. Like you move past that, you'll start to recover. Like his mind will start to become solidified in the fact that he's just the Joker. He's the joke.
I just don't expect a Joker within 20 years to start like getting on a regular diet and bench houses to get ripped to fight Batman. In the
Heath Ledger's Joker isn't jacked either.
Right.
And when you see like the cartoon that Mark Hamill portrays it, he's not jacked. He's not huge.
No,
he's quick. He's fast. He's quick on his feet. He's light on his toes. He's like
that version of the Joker is always just had a plan set up. Like he usually doesn't go toe to toe
in the animated version.
Yeah,
he does ever occasionally, but it's generally overpowering.
It's mostly like whenever Batman's close, then he throws a punch out of like desperation,
right?
Because his plans fail. Like Batman's made it past every step of his plan, and he's already lost by the time.
And then usually he just grabs him and goes like this.
Yeah, and holds him up, and he's like, "Well, even I'm gonna break out again."
But Beyond Return of the Joker, he takes over the body of Tim Drake, who was a Robin, right? But this is after the point that Robin's been brainwashed, and it's years down the line. Robin already has a family and a wife and all that stuff, so he hasn't trained in years. But when Joker takes over the body, rewrites his DNA, he's going hand-to-hand combat against this new Batman, who's been trained by Bruce.
Which is great. That's a
the movie's awesome. But Batman at a certain time is losing until he actually switched up the tactic. He's like, okay, if I can't beat him in a hand-to-hand fight, I'll treat him as if he's a joke. You know, it's a mind in wits game when it comes to the Joker. But
that's what the game he plays.
Right. But it could also be a fist fight depending on the situation. If the Joker thinks he's immortal, he can throw hands.
Go ahead, because mine's off topic.
At the end of this movie, he's obviously arrested, and he's in a cop car. And as they're coming out, there's riots going on, and basically a car hits the police car, which in turn basically they put him on this. These clowns, guys dressed up in clown outfits, pull him out.
Evangelizes him
and-
on how to switch car.
Yeah.
Basically, they do the whole
But
Jesus
Lift him
thing
up
with him.
and-
yeah, but at the same
Anyway.
time,
He goes
that
crowd
same
surfing.
that same scene, they're passing like the movie theater, and the Waynes are coming out, and they're trying to get away, and that's when they walk down the alley, and that's where
They do the whole.
They assume that because the way that the Joker's entire situation happens in the movie is that he is indirectly the cause of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, even though it's been proven
'cause
by multiple sources that Joe Chill's the one that killed and the Joker was nowhere involved.
Well, Joker didn't pull the trigger.
That's me being snooty. Indirectly.
It was somebody else in a clown
Yeah,
mask.
indirectly.
But also, like, a couple times in the movie, there's a time where he's talking to, like, a psychiatrist, or is it a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Therapist, psychiatrist.
And,
Is it a
like, the second
psychiatrist?
time, she's like, oh, they're cutting our funding. This is our last conversation. And then at the end, he's taken to Arkham, and I'm assuming it's Arkham, but he's talking to her, and it's like, do you want to see a magic trick? And that's when you assume that, I don't think it showed it, but I can't remember. But you think that he kills her, and then he's walking off because there's blood footprints as he's walking off, and he's like dancing and all happy. So it's at the end, it's like maybe he did kind of find himself somewhat.
The entire movie is kind of weirdly portrayed, whereas it may or may not have happened in the style that the viewer sees it.
Well, you've heard of. I'm sure you've heard of the whatever it's called, fan theory or whatever, where it's all just inside of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entire thing
Yeah,
is
I
just
was
different
saying.
people inside of the insane asylum, and he's just portraying
Yeah,
everything.
there's multiple different theories where everything that happens that we see in terms of him being the Joker is not happening.
Right.
And it's just him already locked up in Arkham.
Just
And-
going crazy.
Right. And then
That ran through my mind too.
yeah, and like there, like I said, there's a game theory about or a film theory about it on YouTube by MatPat that kind of explains from the story to the possible situations to certain sequences that explain. Okay, this is definitely this is a in the head sequence versus this is the real life sequence.
Right.
So
All I wanted to say is completely unrelated because we got really deep into the Joker for the whole time. But Disney announced that Deadpool is going to be remaining rated R.
yes.
I got excited about that because I thought as soon as they acquired Deadpool, then they would try and force it to be PG-13, and the PG-13 copy of Deadpool 2 was not as good as the R.
Well,
obviously. So I'd love that they're just letting it. They're like, yeah,
DC
we're a
they're
child
like,
thing, but this
okay.
isn't a child movie, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
that's the interesting thing that Disney announced earlier, late last year, that they were going to start producing some rated R stuff.
I think that they have
Smartest move.
they're doing a rated R Deadpool, and Spider-Man is allowed one cameo in one movie. He needs to be in the Deadpool rated
They
R
are
movie.
they are actually talking about a Spider-Man Deadpool movie.
If they only get one, why not do it? That's what everyone wants to see.
That's true.
And you have the two perfect characters, in my opinion, playing those characters,
Right.
playing them. So just let it happen right now while you have the licensing. You don't know if you're going to get more. Just do it. You literally have nothing to lose because you're losing Spider-Man. So
I mean, well, even with them with the M rating, it allows them to put the X-Men back in. You know. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
like
think about it.
Wolverine.
What's the best-selling X-Men movie?
Wolverine.
Exactly, Logan.
Yeah, Logan. Yeah,
Logan
sorry.
specifically.
Logan, hands down.
Wolverine was not.
Wolverine was terrible.
Right.
I got the movies mixed up. But Logan,
with
yes,
them bringing
was awesome.
in this, they need to stop with First Class 110%.
Oh,
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they are, but if they do that, they should let Laura.
They're rebooting the entire thing.
Oh my God, they're wasting Laura's potential. I just want X-23. I love her.
Well, they may continue that,
I doubt it.
but I doubt it. But they are rebooting everything else.
Yeah.
They do need to reboot everything that wasn't Logan.
Right, but
'Cause it's terrible.
But yeah,
Right,
they're not-
because
they're
I
not-
want a good Fantastic Four movie.
It's not happening.
It could.
It's not.
It could.
Who's gonna do it?
Disney.
Disney has the rights now.
They do.
I don't believe it.
Oh, well, I do.
They can do it.
The name is so tarnished.
Nah.
They're gonna have to do a lot to pull that out.
So is
from
X-Men.
under.
X-Men is so tarnished, and people still want to see it.
Because they want to. Yeah, you're right. But I think. But
Okay,
okay,
just
how
remember that I'm right, and I'm always right.
no. I just said comparatively. Think about how many X-Men movies there have been.
San Francisco.
8.
Um,
Oh, do you guys have to do that
You
still?
still have to do it.
Oh my god.
It's fine. It's fine.
We're so over though.
I
Oh
know,
no!
it's okay.
Who has to edit and do all of it?
It's not like you edit anyways.
Yeah, you're just
Oh,
gonna
I'm
put
gonna
it
do
out.
more with this time. I didn't have time last week.
Oh, okay, cool.
There's more X-Men movies, so people have a lot more to deal with in terms versus the Fantastic Four, where they had 2 movies. One which was okay, I can see this going somewhere. One that was terrible because Galactus is not Galactus; he's a giant cloud, and Larry Fishburne as the Silver Surfer. And then they rebooted the franchise to try and make it a little bit more dark, and it completely sucked ass.
I
I
thought
thought
the
the
first
Silver
one.
Surfer was amazing.
I thought the first movie
kidding.
was okay as Silver Surfer was convoluted, and then the third one was great because it was like everybody trapped in an Amazon warehouse.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. X-Men has more going for it versus the Fantastic Four, which is so far in the dirt that
Are you saying you wouldn't want to see Disney try?
no,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, I do.
100%.
I want a
I 100%
Fantastic
wanna see 'em try.
Four Spider-Man Deadpool movie.
No.
Do it.
No. Anyways, go ahead.
I
Nate.
do want to see the Spider-Man
Go ahead.
Deadpool.
San Francisco, you said?
Yeah.
San Francisco. Tampa Bay, Seattle.
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 Stop choosing the
Houston,
same.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
No. Why?
Houston.
Do you just want to
Washington,
put?
Buffalo.
Do you just want to
Buffalo.
put Michael's like guess on the side?
Tennessee,
You don't have to
Carolina.
be part of it.
Carolina.
No.
You sure?
It's okay.
Carolina. Minnesota, Kansas City.
I just want to see
Kansas
Nate
City.
suffer.
Minnesota. Jets, Miami.
Why do you want to see Nate suffer?
Jets.
Because Nate will actually suffer. Dave will just enjoy suffering.
Jets.
I kind of will.
Chicago, Philadelphia.
I feel like in many
Answers-
ways, if
Chicago,
I
Philadelphia.
lose, it'll be a better thing because I don't think really Nate can handle it.
Chicago,
He
Philadelphia.
will throw up.
Chicago, Philadelphia.
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 Chicago. Indianapolis, Pittsburgh.
Which one's even Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
Steelers.
Oh,
The
Steelers.
Steelers.
Oh, I'm gonna go Indianapolis. Sir.
Did you have a stroke?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll go Indianapolis as well. Detroit, Oakland.
Detroit.
Detroit.
Ooh, he's just choosing
Cleveland,
this-
Denver.
Denver.
Ew.
Cleveland. Green Bay, Chargers.
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Damn it.
New England, Baltimore.
Baltimore.
So hold on.
Ooh,
Before you
New England.
continue, do that last one actually.
Dallas, Giants.
Giants.
So are you just trying to pick one and hope that he picks the opposite?
Kind of.
Dallas.
And I don't know anything about football. So
Then why are you doing this bet?
Because we started it and we're gonna finish it.
Yeah, it was his idea.
Dun, 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 dun.
And we have M&Ms and cinnamon on the line.
You know it's like $3.50 for a bag of them, right?
Not the bag we're getting.
It's a 55-ounce bag.
It's a plus party size.
You also have to wait 17 weeks to get it.
It's like not even gonna be worth it.
Or unless you do postseason and then you're 22 weeks. So
No, regular season. 17 weeks is long enough for my M&M's.
Sometimes I do
I
regret.
think you guys should do postseason and have it like exponentially get worth
No.
more points.
Oh,
No.
it's true.
Yeah.
No.
Don't help them.
No, like
This is
No.
the
no, like
boringest part
wild
of the
card is worth
podcast.
2, conference is worth 5, and then you have division is worth 5, conference is worth 10, and then the Super Bowl is a whole 20 points if you get it wrong or right.
If we do that and I lose, then you get to do my challenge for
No.
me.
Not okay at all.
Oh, exactly.
No, that's your choice for agreeing to that. He's
Yeah.
giving you a suggestion.
I'm giving you a suggestion.
How about you do that, and
How about
then Nate
How
and
about no?
That's
and,
Michael.
and Michael are on a team, and then Xavier and I are on a team.
No.
Why would you have that? I've already helped you with the
That'd be
week.
good for us.
I don't
Do you
know if
wanna
it
be
paid off. We'll see next time.
Do you want to see on? Do you want to be on the same team together?
No.
No.
There's
I'm
no
not-
teams.
I'm not agreeing to this.
I feel like we're agreeing to this.
I feel like we are
I
about
feel
done
like
with
the
this episode.
only one who wants it. I don't want it.
Yeah, I like it. What?
Anyway, all done. Bye.